Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Denver, Colorado, it's time for Franchise Bible Coach Radio. Now, here are your hosts.
All right, everybody, and welcome to Franchise Bible Coach Radio podcast with Rick and Rob. I'm Rick Grossman, and I will introduce my co-host, Rob Ganley, here in just a minute. And folks, we're excited to bring you on the inside of the franchising process with our series we're doing with Entrepreneur and Entrepreneur Franchise Advisors. And we are looking at the real insider's look at franchising your business. We're calling it Franchising Your Business. This one is part 2, Building Your Franchise. We did part 1 a couple of weeks ago, and you got to hear from our guest and from us and talking about the process of deciding to be a franchisor, which is a big step. It's the first step of a journey. And this week, we're talking about Franchising Your Business Part 2, which is Building Your Franchise. So we're going to talk about all the different elements of your franchise opportunity, including the 5 departments that we talk about all the time, which is leadership, operations, marketing, finance, and legal and technology. You're going to need to build out certain elements and resources within each of those departments to get ready to franchise. And so we will focus on the tangible as well as the learning element of the franchise preparation, which we call building. And then we'll go on to the next phase, 3 and 4, and talk more about the actual launching of the franchise and onboarding first franchise owners, and then how to support them and scale up and get into what we call the big leagues. So there's a lot of exciting content coming. So stay tuned and please follow the series. If you're even lightly thinking about getting into the franchise business and franchising your business, this is a free series that will give you lots of information to help you with that decision. So with no further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our special guest today. We have, again, for the second time, we have the co-founder and CEO of EagleONE out of Cincinnati, Ohio. Hey, Mike, how are you?
I'm doing well, guys. Good to be back.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for all your participation and sharing your insights with folks, because that's really a big help to let people know what this looks like and feels like from the inside. So we have Mike Hutzel once again, folks, with us, and you can also see the corresponding article and information on entrepreneur.com, and we'll tell you how to find that at the end of the show. So at this point, I'm going to introduce my co-host, Rob Ganley, and he's going to get started with some questions for Mike. So, hey, Rob, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's great to be here. I think this is really exciting. It was great to introduce the first segment to our audience the other week, the Entrepreneur webinar. And I think it's a great opportunity to follow this all the way through, and that Mike has been willing to do this. So thanks for that, Mike. And but as we get started here, if you wouldn't mind, even as our second segment, of following you through the process of taking a world-class business and making it a franchise, could you maybe introduce yourself again for the audience and tell us a little bit more about your business model and for anyone who missed the last show?
Sure. Again, it's Mike Hutzel. I serve as our CEO here at EagleONE, and the way to think about us, we're a B2B services-based business. Now, our clientele are both B2B and B2C, and technically we're client agnostic. So that's one of our real benefits, is that we can serve a lot of folks on a lot of different levels. When we talk to a prospect, what we tell them is we have 3 basic service lines: customer experience, lead gen, and digital marketing. Now, those actually encompass 12 different core competencies. There's 4 lines or 4 competencies in each line. But when we're talking to a prospect, we really want to learn and listen. So what we try to do is gauge the conversation on the main line. Or do they need customer experience? Do they need lead generation? Do they need digital marketing? We use technology and people. So we are a group of experts that leverages technology, best in class. Some of it's plug and play, some of it's proprietary. And we operate on the part bricks and mortar, part remote workforce model. So that's that was certainly a benefit to us last year. And as far as our franchise model, it's going to be a stay-at-home, work remote kind of model as well. And what we really want them to focus on is running their business. So we've taken all that we've learned from servicing franchise brands and try to really implement it into our program so that we're a true turnkey. We're feeding them, we're handling all the fulfillment, the billing, and they can really focus in on their clients and their local networking.
Awesome. Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a good fit for a lot of people. There's a lot of folks out there that have that flair for marketing and sales and want to help businesses. And really that's what it's all about, right? Helping those businesses flourish.
Yeah. And one thing I'll comment on, since this is my background as well, knowing a lot about digital agencies and building companies like that, it's one of the most common things that would occur is that, once you have a rapport with a client, there's different ways that they want you to help them, and they just assume work with you. So having this broad, it gives you lots of ways to get in the door and then lots of ways to help your client long term. And he really, Mike's model is covering everything, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah. You can imagine having an EagleONE franchise owner in every market across the country, helping small businesses with all their marketing needs. And it's not just digital marketing. From what I understand, Mike, it's kind of all of the necessary customer service and marketing elements, both online and offline, correct?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, so the idea is that what I really like about how we're built today is that we don't have to have any ego in any one particular strategy. So when we sit down with a prospect, we can listen and learn, and then we can choose sort of a la carte what's most important to them where they are. And then as we join their journey, that path, wherever we meet them to where they want to go, we can add things in along the way as they're appropriate. And so our franchisees are going to have the same luxury to really meet people where they are, meet their own clients where they are, and help them develop that path to where they want to go in terms of their customer experience, any kind of lead generation, top end funnel activity, and of course, all the digital marketing as well.
Building businesses. That's awesome. Well, that sounds like an exciting franchise opportunity for sure. So let's get into the next question. And, for full disclosure, folks, our company, Franchise Bible Coach, is doing the franchise development project for EagleONE. And that has enabled us to have this inside look at the process. And so, as you know, from listening to the show and reading the articles and things, that we are in a partnership with Entrepreneur Magazine. Entrepreneur Franchise Advisors is our venture that we do together. And we formed that because we believe there's really great business models out there that deserve to be franchises. And there's a lot of potential franchise owners out there that really deserve to have access to them. And so, where it was very expensive and very difficult to get into franchising not too many years ago, we've joined forces to make it affordable and much easier for people to thrive as a franchise model, and also for franchise owners to find these great franchises through our buy a franchise side of things. So really a fun project. And with this project, we are looking at the steps, the 4 phases, and you can see those by clicking on the links that are inside the articles. And we're going to show you how to get those at the end of the show. But you want to, when you're considering franchising your business, you want to look at all the elements and make sure it's a good fit. Because I always say you don't try franchising. You're either in franchising or you're not. And so we want to make sure that you're ready. And that was kind of the phase 1. Making the decision. And then now we're in it, we're building, and lots of exciting things as we get ready to get to the starting line. And that also isn't the end. The starting line is where we start to look for those franchise matches and onboard and develop out a successful franchise network and community. So it's a process. But if you have the Franchise Success Plan, which is a program we developed and basically the roadmap, to help you along the way, and you have some professional coaches in your corner, it's much easier and much more affordable and much more efficient. So that's what we're all about. So that's my disclosure. And now we'll get into the question. that will kind of clarify. Some people ask, well, what's it look like and what do you do for me as a company to help me franchise, right? So, Mike, when you think about this, the theme this week is your firsthand experience during the building phase of your franchise opportunity. So before we can open up and start finding candidates that are a good fit for your franchise, we have to build it. And so tell them a little bit about what we've been going through the last couple of few months in the building process, and how do you and your team interact with the franchise development team over at Franchise Bible Coach, which is our team, and how does the various elements of your franchise opportunity come together? And so what's that feel like?
Yeah, so there's a lot there. So I'll try to unpack it a piece at a time, right? In terms of, I think it's probably important to touch on how we selected your group over any other group that might claim to do this kind of work. I think, what we would say to anyone, and this goes internally, especially, a lot of times when we're selecting clients or selecting prospects, they think they're vetting us, but what we're really doing is vetting them. And so we're feeling them out for their value systems, their moral compasses. And I know from working with you in the past on several other brands, and just your faith-based system is very congruent with ours. The value systems, the franchisee first. And so that went into a lot of the kind of no-brainer decision it was to work with you guys. So that was step one to make that selection, I guess. Then we, you sort of data dumped on us, right? A little bit. You said, well, here's the process, one phase at a time. And, at what I was really glad to see early in the phase and up through today, because we're still at it trying to build it out and get it all done. But I was really glad to see how well you folded into the fabric of what we do. It's important work. It's real work. We want to be one of the best brands out there, and so we want to do everything properly. But we also have the task of keeping ourselves. We have to keep our mission objectives clear at the mothership. We're still running a business, and so it's early on. It was a little bit of a learning curve, but we found a nice groove fairly quickly. And I think the process you've taken us through has not only been articulate, but from phase one to phase two and so on, it really starts to make sense as we kind of move down the line. So that was also very helpful. Bringing the team in on the weekly meeting and the coaching sessions, also a big benefit. I think it gives everybody a chance to, I'd say really just not only gather, but bring their various expertise or their parts of the project to that conversation as it's relevant to that particular phase, and have a chance to have everybody hear about what they're going through and maybe offer advice and get a little clarity from you and your team. So I feel like you guys have done a really great job at just keeping us moving along. Especially at the pace we're keeping, right? It's pretty unique. And what else is new, right? We did double time, triple time, but I don't feel like we're sacrificing any quality along the way, right? Because we're just laser focused on the process. And then I think another big thing has been Basecamp, just having that centralized place to be able to communicate at whatever hour people choose to communicate, and to have everybody see that language and the posts and the different documentation that goes into that. I think it's kept everybody eyes wide open along the line. And it's certainly, especially the pace we're keeping, it certainly helped us feel like, even though the finish line feels like we still have miles to go, we still have every reason to believe we're getting there at a great pace.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for that. And for those of you that don't know what Basecamp is, that's our project management software that we use to collaborate and make sure that everybody's working together and that there's common momentum building. And that's one of our tools that we use. But thanks, Mike. And likewise, working with your team has been a pleasure, and very professional and very focused and very committed team. And that's another thing you want to evaluate, folks, when you get into franchising. You want to make sure that everybody on your team is on board, lock, stock, and barrel. They're all in, And we can help you with that process too, of evaluating that. But it is a team effort if you have a team. If it's just you as an individual or a husband-wife team or a couple of partners, then you have more to build on as you grow. But if you have an existing team, you want to make sure that everyone's on board. So it's been a pleasure working with your team as well, Mike.
I appreciate that, Rick. I mean, and again, just know from our perspective, if we're a pretty authentic bunch. So if we didn't feel like the process was going well, somebody would raise their hand by now.
Oh, sure. I appreciate that transparency.
Yep. And we appreciate that. And, ultimately, anytime you go through a growth phase as an entrepreneur or a business leader, I know Mike, because you've been doing this so long. It takes effort and mental toughness, right? And this phase of your company's growth is a big step forward to become a franchise brand and to really use that as a platform, to grow your brand. And so tell us a little bit about that mental toughness, right? What are the couple of things you can tell the audience or share with other folks like you that might be considering the same thing? What should they get ready for?
Well, I think I'll start by saying I think most entrepreneurs, whether it's a B2C organization or a B2B organization, whether they've been doing it 1 year or their whole career, I think they know it's not for the faint of heart. You can't let every bump in the road scare you away, or you're probably best served being a W-2 employee and balancing that ship a little bit better. I would tell you the first thing, there's really two things that I would talk about mental toughness here. The first is the workload. It's very real. And it seems to me a lot like the work we do with our clients. It's very front end loaded. So, it feels like we're doing a lot of work now to pay dividends in the future. Anybody in the military or who's been through boot camp, there's a phrase I love, and we use it a lot around here. It's called embrace the suck. It's just a process that says, look, yes, today is tough, and the day might be long, but the weeks are short, and the end is near. And those tough moments are stretching us, right? They're really, or people can not anywhere near the military can maybe think of it like an exercise program. The first day you start with your New Year's resolutions; those are really tough, and it hurts, and you're sore, and you're tired, and you don't want to get up day two. But as you do it more and more, you start to gain that momentum. And you really start to feel some of that stuff starting to pay off, even as you're still building. So that workload's real. But again, if it's compartmentalized and you're working with the right group, like Rick and his team, it's one of those things where you can fold it in and not get overwhelmed, but keep the pace going and not lose sight of your core business along the way. The other thing about the mental toughness, I think you need to come with a certain amount of humility. In other words, there are things you don't know, and you have to accept the fact that you're relying on a partner, in this case, to come to you and help you understand some of those things. There's a lot of boxes to check, and you want to do it properly. So, if you think about it this way, anybody who is going to invest as your franchisee, well, the first thing you have to do, you're putting your life's work on the line, your brand. And if you're going to make it a brand and you're going to ask other people to invest in it, then having that humility and recognizing that there's just certain things you don't know because this is new, despite what your concept is. I would just say, just be prepared to learn along the way and embrace those foreign things and understand them properly so that by the time you are ready for franchisees, you feel that you're good, that you're educated, and that you're ready to really bring those people into your brand.
Well said. Yeah, very good. Well, that's great advice, folks. So if you're thinking about it, this is a good time to kind of reflect a little bit. The good news is it's an amazing business and there's a lot of benefit. And if you have the stick-to-itiveness to work through the process and become a franchisor, you get into a pretty nice trajectory for growth. And not only that, but the benefit of helping others succeed and and putting food on their table and helping them grow their own businesses, which is very rewarding. And I've experienced that myself when I was an early franchisor with my first brand. So very, very exciting. And I look forward to seeing you at the conventions and seeing you up on stage with your franchisees as you grow. Very, very fun. So when we look at the building process, and you can see in more detail, if you go to franchisebiblecoach.com and click on Franchise Your Business, you can see more detail of what is in each of these departments. So it's not a mystery what's in those departments and what tangible items we're going to be focusing on. But there's also some intangibles, some coaching and learning and keeping you on the right track and keeping your team growing as franchise leaders, and giving everybody every opportunity to succeed. So there's a combination, and something that's unique about Franchise Bible Coach is we do the tangible side with our hand-picked group of awesome providers, but we also do the coaching and development and get you on the right track. And that has been our main differentiator. And so when you look at that building of the operations manuals and the franchise disclosure documents and the marketing pieces and all of the different pieces of what we call the building phase, you're also going to see that everybody's learning the franchise business, because that's our goal, is to have a very well-defined franchise opportunity, but also have a very educated franchise team so that you're ready for what I say in the book, a whole new business, right? So when you're going through that process, Mike, what have you experienced and what has your team experienced as far as benefits of the process itself?
Yeah, I would say there's really two core benefits so far. There's probably other ancillary ones, but the two that I think I'm most pleased with. One is to kind of go back to the last question about some of the mental toughness. I've watched my team really grow firsthand. That's been a blessing, no doubt. At first it was a lot of excitement when we made this decision and we first introduced them to you and your team. And I feel like we were those young recruits on the first day of boot camp. Yes, this is going to be exciting and I can't wait. And of course it's been hard since then. I mean, we've all had to work a lot and pay attention and learn things and those kinds of things. So I think watching them grow personally and professionally and really embrace this idea, I think has been a benefit for sure. I also think there's along that same line, I think there's been some recognition of one another in their respective roles. So I think because everybody's had to contribute from their specific discipline or expertise or whatnot, and everybody gets to see what everybody's doing. I think people are really, my executive team especially, are really coming to the place where they truly appreciate what their colleagues do, where before they might have been in a silo and just kind of head down doing their own thing for our clients. So that's been a blessing as well. The other thing, I think I honestly believe it's helped us streamline internally. So I think our clients today are benefiting already from some of the process. Part of this has been us examining the why we do what we do as much as the what or the how. And so I think just so we can not only explain it properly to a franchisee, but so we can make sure that what they're offering is indeed what's great for their clients, and they can build that really great residual long-term client base. So we've really been examining, well, why do we do it that way? And is that really the best way to do it? So I'm really pleased about that self-analysis part, that look in the mirror that we've been going through week after week, just because of how the process is designed.
Wonderful. Well, and you talk about the mental toughness, and there is a commitment level, of course. And we also know that we're dealing with busy people. I mean, you're already a thriving business. You mentioned earlier that you have clients that are franchisors, so you're familiar with franchising. You're a successful marketing executive, and so you're busy and you know your stuff, right? And you know a lot about the business and the marketing world, of course. So we want to make sure with every project that we have a project management timeline that's realistic. And we also have the ability to work into or dovetail into your schedule. And so depending on those two variables, we can adapt that so that it fits, because we realize that you do have a business to run. And that's really critical to keep that momentum on both fronts as you develop that new business. So we will, we'll keep that momentum going. So very good. Okay,
Yeah.
Rob.
Yeah. I was just going to chime in and say, you started to talk a little bit about your team and the growth. And I mean, obviously becoming a franchisor means you're optimizing. You always think of brands like McDonald's, right? How optimal that is. And most of us understand how well run that operation is. And when you become a franchise brand, you're forced to look at every little detail that we often just don't have time to look at. And so I know that's part of it, but tell us a little bit about how you have, proactively involved your team. Like where did you see that was most, how did that happen?
Well, I mean, it started way back. It feels like way back when we, went to them with the idea, and because it was important for us to get their buy-in, not necessarily that we needed their approval, so to speak, but more so that we wanted them to understand why this would be good, not only for us, but for those other people, especially those furloughed and fired folks from last year, and how we could really help people build a business of their own. So it started with really just a willingness to commit. Despite any extra work that might come along with it. I can say this much for sure. We would not be here without them. I know I'm here and I'm the voice and the face and those kinds of things. But the truth be told, if I had tried to do this on my own, I would have fallen way short. They have been, not only willing to work and committed to the cause. Here's what else I found out along the way so far is that they've also been willing to hold me accountable, rally behind me if I start to show some shortcomings. They know I'm human, and I make no claims otherwise. And they also know I'm committed at all costs. But sometimes even I commit to too much or get a little sidetracked or something. So I'm really grateful that they're willing to not only shoulder the extra load, but also keep me in check, remind me what the real end game is. And if you don't mind, just as a plug for them more than anything, because they deserve this spotlight more than I do, I'd like to mention them just real quick, a moment of fame kind of thing. I'd like to say thanks to Diane Hutzel, our COO, Edie Akamoto, our Chief Strategy Officer, Jim Borum, our Chief Experience Officer, Leslie Lee, one of our Executive Directors, Steve Terrell, who serves as our EVP of Operations, and Ross Geiger, who's one of our EVPs of Partnership Development. These folks have been critical for me. I can't thank them enough for the extra time, the extra work, the extra hours, and just the unwavering belief that this is a good idea and it's worth the effort.
Yes,
I was just going to jump in and say, you're an amazing guy. You're a great leader. I know for me, anytime I'm on a team, anytime I'm part of something, being recognized and feeling like, I have that give and take with the leader, right? I mean, being a leader is hard. And I've often been like, I'm happy being the right-hand man. But I mean, being able to contribute is going to, take your business to another level. And really, I was just thinking as you were talking, I'm thinking you could almost productize the process of becoming a franchise to just optimize your brand and move forward and not even
ever franchise. Yeah, exactly.
Because it makes it look so hard because you got to then take it to someone who doesn't know your business at all yet, and show them how to get up to speed very quickly. And that really does force you to get better, which is awesome.
Exactly.
And we often see probably every project, come to think of it, we see people tying up loose ends that they've always wanted to. It's like selling your house and you fix up all the things you've always wanted to do.
Great analogy.
Yeah. When you're franchising, there's the little loose ends that you want to get to. And I see those get finished up and shored up. And really it's, a fun part of the process to see that happen in the preparation for franchising. Because now, like Rob said, you got to teach other people how to do it and make sure that they're successful, and that's really key.
Exactly. Well, we're getting close to the end of this segment. Remember, we have a couple more, and that's going to be exciting as we keep going through this process. And again, you said so many great things today, but we love to wrap our segments up with our shows, all of our shows really, with, what is the gold nugget for this round? What is the one thing that you've been talking about that you feel like, if I were to share anything else with other people in my position, what would be that thing? Is there something like that you'd want to share with the audience?
Sure. I think it's a little different than the last time you asked me this question, because we were thinking about how we got started. And when I got this question from you guys, I thought, well, geez, where am I now versus a month ago or whatever it's been? And, I would say the nugget I would leave this time is know your foundation before you start. For me, as an example, it's my faith, it's my family, and it's my team. So this process starts, and there's a great deal of excitement. I use that recruit analogy. I can't wait to be a soldier or a sailor, or whatever, a Marine in my son's case. And the road seems really clear, and it seems like it's going to be an easy goal. But to do this right, it feels like the road gets extended one phase at a time. And you start to climb hills, and you start to feel pressures from the workload. But if you know that foundation, the reason you're doing this in the first place, when those things start to seem a little overwhelming, I use it as my beacon, right? I use it as there's my level set. My foundation can help me stay balanced and kind of reset if things feel a little overwhelming. And that gets me back to that determined space of being, one of the very best brands in the space. And, our goal here is real simple. We want to take our brand and help people with it. And so, just staying rooted for me has been a good solid way to kind of get through the ups and downs of some of the workloads and the phases and things like that.
Well put again. Yeah.
That's a great gold nugget, folks. And, that's from somebody that's going through the process right now. So if you're thinking about franchising your business or expanding, this is a great series for you. And we sure do appreciate Mike Hutzel and his team and their willingness to not only go through the franchising process, but also do the extra work of sharing it with us and participating in our articles and blogs and everything else. So really appreciate you, Mike.
Yeah, glad to be here, guys. If it can help just one person do it the proper way, I'm happy to do it.
Awesome. Well, folks, like Rob said, we're at the end of the show for this segment. Make sure you check out my corresponding article on entrepreneur.com. And this one will be titled Franchising Your Business Part 2, Building Your Franchise. And the great thing about the article is we get to break down some more detail of this phase. We get to put some insights in there about what Mike and his team are going through. And then there's links right inside the article that will allow you to register for the next live event. Also, the podcast, this podcast will have a link there. And of course, registration for upcoming website resources and other things that you'll find on entrepreneur.com. as well as franchisebiblecoach.com. So go to entrepreneur.com and you can search my name, Rick Grossman, and that's Grossmann. And you can click on my author biography page to access the series and other resources. You can click on the webinars. If they're in the past, you can always go back and watch the recordings, and you can you can view the articles along with and listen to the podcast. So all there for you to help with your decision and your process of becoming a franchisor, if that's what you want to do. So we'll have that information coming in the coming weeks. So I'd like to thank my co-host, Rob Ganley, of course, our sponsor, Entrepreneur Franchise Advisors and Entrepreneur Magazine, and of course, our guest today, Mike Hutzel, founder and CEO of EagleONE. You guys have a wonderful week, and we'll see you back on the show here pretty soon. Goodbye, everybody.